Picture this. You walk into a massive, completely empty rented stadium. Right in the very center of the floor, there's a single painted circle. Inside that circle, 100 highly confident people, packed shoulder to shoulder. They're all sizing each other up, and every single one of them believes, absolutely, that they have what it takes to outlast everyone else in the room. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're breaking down one of the most chaotic, intense, and frankly mind-boggling social experiments ever put together. This is a challenge that strips away literally every comfort of modern life, testing the absolute limits of human endurance and psychology. We're going to deconstruct exactly how a simple game of standing still rapidly devolves into a desperate fight for survival. And, as you'll see, the creators of this experiment knew from the start that most of these highly confident people wouldn't even survive the very first night. So you're probably wondering, why on earth would anyone subject themselves to this kind of self-inflicted torture? Well, the answer is simple. $500,000. That is the staggering, totally life-changing prize waiting for the last person standing. Whoever stays inside the lines of that circle the longest walks away with a literal fortune. And it's a brilliant hook, right? Because $500,000 is exactly the kind of money that makes people swear they can endure absolutely anything. When these contestants first step into that circle, you know they're doing the math in their heads. They're thinking about buying houses, paying off crushing debt, changing their families' lives forever. Motivation is at an absolute peak. But, as we're about to see, raw motivation can only take you so far when the environment itself turns against you. Okay, let's dive into this and look at the actual ground rules, because this is where the psychological trap is really set. The terms are brutal, and they are completely non-negotiable. First off, no phones to distract you from the agonizing passage of time. No beds to rest your aching body. No leaving the circle for any reason whatsoever, and I mean zero exceptions. Not to stretch, not to clear your head, not even to use the restroom. You step a single toe over that painted line, and your $500,000 dream evaporates instantly. But the most terrifying rule of the whole shebang, every single hour, the challenge is engineered to get deliberately harder. The baseline is already super uncomfortable, but the creators designed a system that guarantees the pressure just keeps ramping up. Section 1. Early mistakes and eliminations. Now, you might think a group of adults fighting for life-changing money would be incredibly disciplined right out of the gate. But human nature is messy and deeply unpredictable. The sheer reality of the situation hits these contestants almost immediately. The extreme claustrophobia of 100 people packed together, the sudden realization of what no leaving actually means, and the overwhelming wave of boredom sparks instant panic. I'm not kidding, literally within the first hour, a massive groan echoes through the stadium as someone shouts, "Oh, we already lost one." Someone actually just accidentally stepped out of the circle. They didn't quit from exhaustion, they weren't broken by torture, they just lost spatial awareness for a fraction of a second, shuffled their feet, and crossed the paint. It perfectly captures the sheer absurdity of the challenge. Imagine losing $500,000 just because of a clumsy footstep. It sends a massive shockwave through the remaining 99 people. Suddenly, they realize the danger isn't just the fatigue, it's their own lack of focus.
And speaking of messy human nature, let's talk about the sheer lack of strategic foresight some people brought into this. Take contestant number 42. In a desperate attempt to stay awake and energized, this person chugged 5 energy drinks right before the challenge started. Now think back to the rules we just went over. No leaving the circle at all. So what happens when your body processes 5 energy drinks? Yeah, the immediate, agonizing regret sets in incredibly fast. It's a hilarious, yet super educational moment in this explainer. It proves that bringing the wrong strategy to an endurance game is just as fatal as having no strategy at all. You just can't out-willpower basic human biology, and contestant 42 learned a very uncomfortable lesson very early on.
Section 2. Escalating the punishments. As that initial excitement completely fades into grim reality, the game completely drops its mask. It stops being this quirky waiting game and formally morphs into a grueling physical trial. The creators aren't just going to let them stand there in peace. Oh no, they are actively trying to break them. Remember that rule about things getting harder every hour? Well, here's what that actually looks like in practice. Every 2 hours, the creators introduce a brutal new punishment. Suddenly, a strict no-sitting rule is enforced. Your legs are already burning, and now you get zero reprieve. Then, without any warning, freezing cold ice rain is dumped directly onto the crowd. Deafening, blaring alarms are blasted through the stadium speakers, making sure nobody catches even a second of sleep. They are systematically attacking every single sense: physical comfort, temperature regulation, and mental peace. It is the literal definition of a psychological pressure cooker, squeezing the contestants until they crack. But here's the absolute kicker: how the creators manipulate that suffering. Right when the contestants are at their absolute most miserable, freezing, deafened by alarms, legs shaking, just trying to stay upright, the creators pause the game, and they offer a choice. You can either endure the ice rain and the alarms indefinitely for a mere chance at the grand prize, or you can walk away right this very second, no questions asked, with $10,000 in cold, hard cash. So I want you to ask yourself honestly, standing there shivering, knowing you might fail in an hour anyway, would you take the immediate 10 grand just to make the pain stop?
Well, if you said yes, you definitely aren't alone. Unbelievably, this temptation strategy worked flawlessly. Multiple people broke rank, took the $10,000, and willingly stepped right out of the circle. It's such a fascinating psychological phenomenon. When our present suffering becomes just too much to bear, we as humans will heavily discount massive future rewards just for a taste of immediate relief. The creators essentially weaponized human psychology here. They knew for a fact that $10,000 guaranteed right now feels infinitely better to a freezing, exhausted brain than a statistical chance at $500,000 tomorrow.
Section 3. The emotional breaking point. By this stage of the game, the silly mistakes are long gone. The weak-willed have been bought out or just totally broken by the cold. What's left inside that circle is a tiny core group operating on pure, unadulterated desperation. The whole game show spectacle has vanished entirely, and it's replaced by a raw, unfiltered display of human endurance. Just looking at the timeline, the attrition rate is staggering. At hour 1, we had 100 loud, panicking people. Fast forward 20 grueling hours later, only 7 contestants remain standing. Think about the agonizing passage of that time, every single minute feeling like an hour. By hour 30, that number dwindles down to just the final 3 survivors. Mapping this out really shows us just how incredibly rare this level of physical and mental fortitude actually is. 97% of a highly motivated room simply could not sustain the suffering.
And as the numbers drop, the true, deeply held motivations start bubbling to the surface. One of the remaining contestants actually broke down and revealed his why. He wasn't standing there for a fancy sports car or a luxury vacation. He stated he wanted the money to help his mom pay off her mounting medical bills. When you hear something like that, the entire context of this explainer completely shifts. At that specific moment, it stops feeling like just another crazy internet challenge. The emotional stakes become deeply personal and incredibly heavy, and it explains exactly why he was able to endure the ice, the noise, and the excruciating pain when 90 other people couldn't. His why was just way stronger than his suffering.
Hitting that 30-hour mark, the scene inside the stadium is incredibly tense. It's almost cinematic. The final 3 are completely exhausted. They're describing their legs as entirely numb, essentially just standing on 2 pillars of pain. The camera captures these really intense close-ups of their hollow, sleep-deprived eyes. They have pushed their bodies way past every logical limit. They're functioning purely on adrenaline and the desperate hope that the other 2 will collapse before they do. They've survived every single punishment thrown at them. But the creators, of course, have one last card to play. Section 4. The $1 million twist. After 30 straight hours of literal torture, right when they think they finally figured out the rhythm of the pain, the creators step in. They stop the clock. And they offer the ultimate dilemma. The words, double or nothing, flash brightly across the big screen. The winner can either take the original $500,000 immediately, and the game ends right there on the spot. Or they can risk absolutely everything they have just suffered through, stay in that circle, and fight for $1 million. But here is the catch. If they risk it and lose, they get nothing. 0. 30 hours of pain for absolutely nothing. It is a staggering cliffhanger. Imagine being in their shoes. Your body is failing, your brain is utterly starved of sleep, and you are asked to make the biggest financial decision of your entire life. Would you take the guaranteed life-changing $500,000, or does the sleep deprivation make you bold enough to gamble your soul for $1 million? So, what would you do?